and welcome to the movie podcast review of Michael. My name is Shahbaz, and joining alongside me are my Jackson 3, technically, I guess, Daniel and Anthony. Daniel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. You know, just moonwalking through life, as always.
Oh, that's pretty impressive, to be honest with you. Moonwalking through life is pretty impressive. Have you guys ever tried to moonwalk, by the way?
Every day of my life, dude. I'll be honest. Like,
successfully
ever since,
or unsuccessfully?
You know, there were times that I felt like I was close. There were times where I'm like, I must be doing it. It's you who's not seeing it. But then didn't work out. But again, growing up in the era of having like music TV and much music and all of that, MTV.
Music
like,
TV.
Growing up in that era.
This guy's a cop.
I was going to say music television.
It's
how
even
you do,
worse.
fellow kids. Growing up in that era and just like seeing Michael Jackson music videos and behind the scenes stuff constantly, it's like, how are you not imitating what you're seeing?
Anthony, what about you? Did you ever try
moonwalk? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we all did.
I was a big Michael Jackson fan, and the moonwalk, when I came across the moonwalk for the first time, I was like, this guy is like, it was just unbelievable. And then to learn when YouTube came out, I was like, this is actually how you moonwalk, and you started doing it, and you're like, oh, it's not bad. I thought this guy was, defying gravity. Even in when he did the tilt, and he had the stilts in his, I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, the moonwalk is definitely something that I think everybody, as a rite of passage, has to try doing. Never been successful doing it. I think I've been close. I think I have maybe, spacewalked at most, but definitely not a full moonwalk. So can't say that I've fully done it. But
so that's why we got to settle for doing like the hee hee sounds. Like that's our compromise.
I am
is imitating him vocally.
I'll do the Michael Jackson ad-libs any day. But just moonwalking, the dancing, I'll leave it up to the professionals. In this movie, we get a lot of professionals doing a lot of great dances. Of course, we're talking about Michael today. Huge shout out to our friends over at Cineplex Pictures for inviting us to come watch the movie and to come party with them, Michael Jackson style, at their VIP after party after the screening as well. We had the Canadian premiere last night, and we also had the LA premiere last night too. So a lot of premieres around the world. Michael has been showing himself off to a lot of great people. So this has been really, really cool. And of course, this is directed by the legendary Antoine Fuqua, who you've definitely seen a movie of his. You've seen either, Equalizer, you've seen Training Day, and then there's just 100 million more movies that this guy has done. So we're going to get into all of that. And it is, of course, starring Michael Jackson's nephew, Jaafar Jackson. Michael will be in theaters exclusively April 24th. So Daniel, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with your first reaction to Michael?
Michael is a film that we have been waiting so long for. We saw that footage at CinemaCon 2 years ago. And now we just that was our first CinemaCon, and now we just finished our third CinemaCon, and this movie is now finally coming out. Michael is absolutely gorgeous. Like, this is a beautiful looking film, and to see how they recreated the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, this is what you want from a biopic like this. You have a great director who is bringing this to life, and Jaafar Jackson is doing his all in channeling his uncle. And it's so funny that it's like, Jermaine's his dad, and like, just like the Jackson 5, like, it's never, Jermaine Jackson's son. It's Michael Jackson's nephew. And just funny how like that is the constant in all of the marketing for all of this. But again, Jaafar is great. He's doing the impossible, and he is portraying one of the most known and iconic figures in all of music and just all of pop culture. And he's doing a great job. Yeah, it could be a little uncanny valley sometimes, because I'm looking at him and I'm like, you look like Michael Jackson, but I know you're not Michael Jackson. And more so with any other music biopic, because this is so trying to be like the definitive version of who Michael is. And it looks beautiful, like I said. And I think some of my favorite moments really are the beginning of this film, like the first, I would say 20 to 30 minutes, where we're getting like, the Jackson 5 era of Michael and the Jackson family, and seeing them recreate some of these iconic moments. From there, it feels like we're just kind of playing fast forward. We're speeding through, a lot of the deeper moments, and just kind of getting into the big moments where we know him from. And I think that's where my disconnect with this movie is, where, yes, it's well made. Yes, there's really good performances in it, but I'm not walking away from this knowing anything more about Michael Jackson, a surface level Michael Jackson, that I wouldn't get in a 2-minute overview of who this guy is, like on the news or something like that. And that's kind of what bothers me, where it's like, yes, it's like, here's Thriller, here's Bad, here's Off the Wall, here's him in the studio with Quincy, but those moments don't go anything deeper. And when you're looking at a guy like Michael Jackson and you know who he worked with growing up, you know who his idols were, like, even like, you know, this guy has Paul McCartney on his first album, he has Stevie Wonder as a mentor, he's worked with Mick Jagger, he did studio sessions with Freddie Mercury. Like, these are people that you would expect to see in this movie, or at least mentions. They're not. And it's weird to feel like it's weird to see how this movie kind of places him in a kind of cone away from the entire music industry. And even if you are saying, okay, you know what, we're just going to focus on Michael, you're not getting a really deep feeling of what's happening or a deeper connection to what he's going through, because he is constantly just reacting to everybody else, and we're not really given a lot of moments for him to be him figuring out what he wants to do. As soon as this film feels like it's about to go into another gear and maybe give us a little something deeper, guess what? We're jumping 3 years to the next thing. And there's just so many moments that you wish hit harder, especially with like something like Thriller, where it feels like that could be a movie in itself. It's just a quick little moment in the movie when he moonwalks for the first time. It just happens. And it feels like, you know, I think of Rocket Man, when you know the scene of Rocket Man where he's performing at the Troubadour in LA and he's performing Crocodile Rock, and it's like everybody ascends. I'm not expecting that to happen in this movie. I'm just expecting this film to treat it with the reverence that it deserves, of like, this should be a moment because that moment changed things for everybody. And it feels like this is a movie where things just continuously happen. You're shown the thing that you recognize, but you're not given anything deeper to think about.
Yeah, I think if you're someone who knew absolutely nothing about Michael Jackson, after watching this film, you probably still won't know that much. And I think someone like my wife, who lived under a rock and didn't know much about Michael Jackson other than his music here and there, and how that he was just insanely famous, was very interested in Michael after watching this film, but was still kind of like, I don't think I really learned anything about this guy. And to be honest with you, a lot of this is kind of like you were saying, Daniel, it's just a overview. It's really just a light skim of a Wikipedia article, and then you're kind of like, here we go. One of the other things that you also kind of mentioned when in your conversation here, but also when we left the theater, was this film feels like there are no other artists in this world. I know that we get a Prince mention. I think we get a Billy Joel mention at some point. But the fact that you never really see them, not even on like TV, is so weird, because it just feels so hollow. And you start to go like, okay, what is actually happening in this movie? Now, some of the things that we want to talk about that are great, like Jaafar Jackson is absolutely phenomenal. I totally understand the uncanny valley approach to it all, because yeah, it can be a little weird hearing the voice and then seeing the face sometimes, and you're like, yeah, like, he really looks like Michael, and like, it's pretty damn scary. But I think, you know, who's someone who's not getting their flowers as much is Juliano Valdi, who plays younger Michael in the Jackson 5 era. Dude was phenomenal. It's a child actor, and he was so damn good. He was getting the voice, he was getting the mannerisms. Like, I legitimately
even the lip syncing, like the way he sang was just like, I was like, this is like the best lip syncing I've ever seen in a movie, because he is so good.
Fantastic.
This kid, as young Michael.
Yeah, he's so engaging, and you're kind of like, oh, I really hope I keep getting more of this guy here. And then obviously when we cut to Jaafar Jackson, it's not like it's like, oh, whoa, where are we now? You're still on board. You're still here for it. And again, when you talk about continuing into great performances, just Colman Domingo is just evil, but I don't think they portrayed him that evil. You know, from what we know about Joe Jackson, it felt like they were just like, yeah, he beats Michael sometimes. And it's like, no, I swear, reading a lot about him and seeing a lot on the news, that he was so much worse of a human being. So maybe they just kind of played it safe. And I think that's kind of the theme of this film, is it's very, very safe. And we're getting pretty much all Michael's music up until the Bad era. And I mean, like, the album Bad. And that's great and all, but when you have the highest selling album, the most like the top 100 albums of all time being Thriller, I feel like there should be a lot more focus on that. And if we know that this movie is going to be, a part one and part two, maybe you could have called this one Michael Thriller or something, and then the next one Michael Bad or Invincible or whatever you want to call it, or Dangerous. I don't know, but like maybe kind of give it the subtitle or something and focus on that era, because the way Thriller kind of comes to be is through like a montage, and that's kind of a disservice to that album. You're not getting a lot of time spent with Quincy Jones either, and he's someone who is so instrumental in the career of Michael Jackson. Nia Long as Catherine Jackson as a mother is fantastic as well. You feel her warmth, you feel her pain, you feel her understanding of who Michael is. But again, it's these short little bursts that you kind of get throughout this movie that never really feel to paint a bigger and deeper picture. And that's why the music of this film is really what's doing all the heavy lifting. It's really keeping you glued in your seat. You're watching this amazing performance on screen, and it looks great because Jaafar is so, magnetic. And then you have this IMAX ratio that's kind of not fully, but like it's really taking up a lot of the screen here. So a movie that looks great, that plays like a concert. But the second the music stops, I kind of found it really boring. Like I was really like trying my hardest to keep myself engaged, but I was just kind of like, oh, I'm kind of bored right now. Can they bust a Michael Jackson song in here right now so I can kind of wake up? But yeah, there's a lot in this film, and I think fans of Michael are gonna be happy no matter what, and they really show that in the movie as well. That as you famously recall, Michael Jackson fans will be fainting in the crowd, they'll be passing out, they'll be just going absolutely insane. It doesn't matter what he does. So when you watch a movie like this, that might be some of the takeaway from fans, but I am really curious to see how it's going to go, because I think critically, I don't know if this film's going to do that well. Box office wise, it hopefully should just destroy and decimate as what I assume. But Anthony, give us your first reactions also to Michael.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think when you approach a biopic like Michael, you expect a Michael level vision, like Michael was always beyond what an artist would look like on the TV screen, music wise, performance wise. So you expect the movie to be very similar to that. And like Rocket Man, that movie summarized Elton John in such a way that he out of scope of who he was, but also a euphoric look at his career through his music and the on-set performances. So you kind of feel that, Michael deserves that. Michael should have a movie where it's almost like an art piece in a sense. And I always look back at Steve Jobs' biopic and how they took moments of his life to tell his story. And through those moments, the character and how he has grown from being this person to losing it to gaining it back. And I felt like I would have, if I was the director, I would have approached Michael Jackson's life that way, because he has had such a huge career, huge number one hits, albums, best-selling record of all time, and iconic moments like the moonwalk, like Thriller, and just telling the story of Michael through those aspects, I think would have helped with the pacing, because there are points to this, story that are very boring. But, Jaafar Jackson is Michael Jackson, like that guy got everything down, from the look to the dance to the movement to the voice. Like he was captivating on screen. And Juliano Valdi is also, when he playing young Michael, just the mannerisms, the smile, the look, like he got all that down. Like both actors did such a great job of playing different the different aspects of his life. And Colman Domingo is a splitting image of Joe. Like that guy, I couldn't tell the difference. Even though he didn't have a lot to say in this movie, like his presence was there, but it just felt like you have Colman Domingo, very distinguished actor, great voice, great performances, and you're just not giving it to me. Like I wanted a scene where he's talking to his son with such presence, and it was always like, I don't feel this dynamic where Michael felt so afraid of his father.
Anthony, I think it almost kind of felt like Joe's presence in this film almost felt very like theme park-esque, where it's just like he's repeating the same thing over and over again. And I almost felt like every scene, Colman Domingo's character is like, Michael, I'm gonna get all the money out of you. And it's like next scene, Michael,
like,
you're gonna be doing
you're not gonna
this.
leave your family, are you?
Yeah. And then like
it's as deep as a TV movie.
It's as deep as a TV film. You never even you want like a monologue out of him. You want like just this big moment of Colman saying something, but it's the same paragraph, maybe less than a paragraph, every scene that we're kind of getting from him. And you're kind of like, it kind of became comedic at one point.
Yeah, it became very much a caricature.
Yeah, and it's like, this is like when you're looking at a film that's produced by Graham King, who obviously used to do Bohemian Rhapsody, it's a lot of the same criticisms that we're getting. And, you know, we just came off last year, Better Man, which I think is one of the greatest music biopics of all time, even though Robbie Williams is a bloody monkey in that film. It's like you're getting such an accurate portrayal of who this character is still, because it is so unapologetically him. And you feel the energy in that film, where I am so over CGI crowds. CGI crowds do not look good, especially when it comes to a concert film. You could go on YouTube and look at Michael Jackson performing anywhere in the world, and you'll get more from like a 240i like version in that video than you would get from like an IMAX screen, because you see how intense, how packed people are in there. And when you see just like a CG crowd and then you punch into close-ups, I'm like, you're not feeling that same magic. It's not the same thing.
That's so fair to say, Daniel, because you're right. When you see the CG crowd and the second that they punch in to the people that are there, it feels like there's only 10 people at the stadium for some reason.
People weren't there. There was a lot of people at these shows. Like all of a sudden, all these people have all these room to do activities at the concert. No, that's not how it is. People were packed like sardines in that era, in the 80s especially, to see this person perform. And it never felt, because he felt like he was such a cone, it never felt like this guy is changing the world around him. This guy is changing the culture. And like, to not have really any artists show up in this film, it's a very interesting choice. To not have like John Landis really in the movie too much, like to talk about like Thriller, like I guess you see him sitting in the chair, but it's like never close up. To not have Scorsese for the Bad music video, and just to see where this movie ends. It's just like, hey, this movie literally just ends where he's about to perform on the Bad tour, and it just cuts to black, and it's just like the journey continues. It's just like, wait, what? What? That we're just ending here?
Yeah, I remember at CinemaCon, the first one we went to, they were talking about how, this is going to be about 2.5 hours long, and it's going to really go into it. And obviously, we know that this film had a bit of a troubled reshoot because of the third act, where they really had to kind of remove some elements that were discussed, and the movie comes in at just about 2 hours and 7-ish minutes with credits. Yeah, so that's a lot of cutting that they're doing in a Michael Jackson movie that you're kind of only getting the first little part of his life here. So I gotta wonder how it actually had ended to where we actually got it to go.
Like the best parts of this movie are the Michael Jackson performances. Seeing Thriller on the big screen, seeing Motown 25, the moonwalk sequence on the big screen. It looks phenomenal, but like when you go into this movie hoping for an authentic biopic, don't hold your breath, because you're not going to get it. You're going to get the narrative that they want to approach it, and that is Saint Michael. That's how I looked at it. I'm like, hey, Michael is a saint in this movie. Can't do no wrong. Never could do anything other than be what the family wants him to be shown as. And I feel like even if you're a Michael Jackson fan, like, you gotta want something more. You want something deeper. Give me as much as those dance sequences and the voice sequences are powerful. I want these acting sequences between the family, between Michael and whoever, to be very powerful. And you just don't get it.
Daniel, the one thing that you talked about with Bohemian Rhapsody, it's funny because where in Bohemian Rhapsody, they were able to really kind of paint Freddie Mercury as whatever they wanted, like, just in like a lazy asshole, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the band of Queen itself were saints. They were like, no drugs for us, thank you so much. Michael kind of has that similar problem where, again, like you were saying, Anthony, he's Saint Michael. Everything's perfect. He was the one that's wronged, and it's like, the guy must have gotten a parking ticket or something. Like, there's no way he was so clean.
Queen is also not documented a lot in their lifespan on TV and so on and so forth. So with Michael Jackson, that guy was bigger. He was the god, right? Like, as a kid,
as a child,
I would watch Michael Jackson and stay up. Like, his music videos were prime time experiences. Like, I remember watching Black or White. Black or White. I remember watching Do You Remember with Eddie Murphy and Magic Johnson. Like, those were moments. And it's like, as a kid, you kind of follow his career and you see the tabloids and you see those specials that they did with Oprah and watching Michael, deal with living at Neverland Ranch and then having kids and marrying Priscilla Presley and the most random. So his life has been documented quite a bit. So you trying to gaslight me into thinking he's not this person, this is the person he is, it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. I needed something real.
And maybe this movie ends in 87,
89, right?
Yeah, or I think it's the Bad Tour. So I think Bad came out in 87. Yeah. So it's like it ends there. So there's a lot more to come. The story continues, but like, where is this part 2 going to come? Because if this is just part 1, this is not a movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like the way this ends, it's like, this is not how a movie ends. This is just how half a story ends. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a full anything.
It's not like Dune Part 1. I'll say that. It's nothing like Dune Part 1.
No.
And also, it doesn't really, like, just the way it ends, you're just like, oh, okay, sure. Like, I had a feeling it was ending because, again, we now were caught up to the beginning of this film. And this movie has this problem also at the beginning of the film where, if you've seen that clip from Family Guy where Peter's watching a movie in the theaters and there's like 40 different studios playing and it almost feels like one's about to start. That's how I felt. I'm like, there's so many studios in this movie. And then when it finally got to like what I thought was the movie, turns out Michael Jackson walking on stage, doing his little foot thing, that's also a studio as well. I was like, oh my God, this movie's never going to start. And then it actually starts with the names of those movies, of those studios popping up. So that was kind of a funny moment. I was like, oh, well, when's this movie going to actually kick off here?
That's so funny.
So let's go to our final recommendations for Michael. Daniel, please kick us off. Let us know what you thought of the King of Pop.
I love Michael Jackson so much. I love his music so much. And I just wish that we got a film that really wanted to go deeper than what we already know. It is, I had a good time watching a lot of this movie. I brought my dad to watch this film, and to see these moments recreated is great, except you're just not getting anything more out of it. And I told you guys, it kind of reminded me of Mario Galaxy a little bit, where you're just like, hey, here's the things but don't expect anything deeper. If you're going into this wanting just to see these moments recreated on the big screen, that's exactly what you're going to get. You're not going to get anything deeper than that. And I think somebody like Michael, and for the fandom that he has, I think they both deserve something deeper to look back and show who this person really was, and to give us more of that, because there's a lot of great pieces in play, but especially how this film ends with it being like, you know what, we're just going to end here. We'll see what happens with part 2. It's hard to really recommend going to the theater to not get a full experience. So I'll say, if you're a Michael Jackson fan, wait to watch it at home. Yeah, it looks cool in IMAX, but I don't think you're really going to get anything more other than, hey, I recognize that.
Yeah, I am right there with you. If you're a Michael Jackson fan, you already know these moments, you already know these performances, and you've probably seen them a lot better performed on stage or on screen in concert videos or music videos. And a lot of this film just kind of feels like it's trapped in this bubble, almost sometimes in a COVID bubble of how it's shot and how it's kind of moving on from place to place. So while the performances by Jaafar and Julio are fantastic and great, and Colman and everybody, the entire cast, there's still this just feeling of like, I've learned nothing more. If you're someone who didn't know anything about Michael Jackson, I don't think you're walking out of this movie learning anything more about him. Like, did you know that he has a sister named Janet Jackson who's not in this movie because she didn't want to be a part of this film? These are all things that kind of happen and also just show up out of nowhere. So I think just add it to the queue, watch it at home. If you really want to see the big performances, the spectacles that there are, you can watch this on IMAX, but we're not going to gain much out of it. Anthony, please take us home.
Imagine Janet shows up in the second one.
Michael, how could you forget me?
Where have you been?
It was all for you. Oh, okay.
I was just, where's that from? It was like, oh, I was here though. Oh, it's really weird. In Boy Meets Worlds, we're like in the last episode when they're in high school, Minkus, who was like a big character in the first couple of seasons as like them as kids, they're like Minkus, where you been? He's like, oh, I've been over there. The camera just points this way. It's like, oh, okay.
That's
Zach.
true.
A lot of LaToya in this film.
Lala Latoya. She is also an executive producer. One thing that also kind of irked me a little bit is the portrayal of the brothers and sisters. He had 11 brothers and sisters. He had a big family. And again, all saints. Never could do no wrong. I'm like, we know your history. We see your life. You didn't live the most perfect life. A lot of the blame went to the father, which I understand, and the mother took a lot of the hardship of living, taking the ownership of that family. But you know, I don't know, the balance wasn't there. But overall, like, again, if you're looking for a Michael biopic, this is not it. This is the best of Michael. And if you want to go see those live performances on the big screen, I think those are the highlights of the movie. Jaafar being a highlight of the film as well. I would say watch it just to experience IMAX and Michael's performances on such a big scale, because you know, getting it in this fashion, I don't think we'll ever get another version of Michael Jackson's story. So at least experience it that. But if you're looking for a deeper, more, you know, look at his career and his life and all the things that he's gone through, you're not going to find it here.
Well, that was our review of Michael. Again, a huge shout out to Cineplex Pictures for inviting us to come watch this movie and for letting us talk about it today as well. If you're new to the movie podcast, our show notes down below have all of our information where you can see what we're up to, what other movies are going to be coming out that we're going to be talking about, and some great interviews as well. There's some really cool stuff that's going to be popping up on our page. So go ahead and check that out. Thank you all for your support. And that was this time of the movie podcast. And we'll see you next.
Hee hee.